Welcome to Cowes on a weekend which sees the dreadful weather we've been having get even worse. No sooner had we moved into our new offices than we were faced with a flood, but our cameras still made it onto the water to bring you the weekend's news. Coming up, we've got RORC's last race of the UK season, JOG's race to pool, and the penultimate round of the Red Funnel Cowes Keelboat Championship. RORC's final race of the UK season saw a much depleted fleet take the start from the Royal Yacht Squadron on Friday evening. Wind and torrential rain discouraged all but the tough as 19 boats headed west at the start of this 75-mile race. David Aisher's Rogers 46 Yeoman 32 led the fleet into Cherbourg in 9 hours and 40 minutes, nearly 15 minutes ahead of the much larger TP52 John Merrick's of the Volvo RYA Keelboat programme. A great result for David's last race as RORC Commodore. Yeoman won Class 0 on handicap, but slipped to 4th overall as the corrected time honours went to the Class 2 winner, Harry Heiss S&S 41 Winsome. Second overall was the top boat in Class 1, Philippe Delaporte's J122 Penazen, which finishes top of RORC's Seasons Points Championship in class and overall. Another Class 1 boat, British Soldier, took 3rd overall. Paul Marsh's Olin Stevens 1-tonner Clarionet rounded off the points series in fine style, winning Class 3 and clinching the Seasons Points Championship in her class. The jog race, which started on Saturday morning, was much shorter than the previous night's RORC race, so it attracted more starters, but the conditions at the start promised a tough few hours ahead. It was blowing hard, 25 knots and over at times, but with the wind and tide together it shouldn't have been this rough. From somewhere a large swell was sweeping up the Solent, topped by breaking waves, but this didn't stop 48 boats in 3 classes beating their way west. Wisely, the race officer had sent them direct to pool, rather than the advertised course which started to the east and went south of the island. But even so, many of these experienced competitors said that the seas beyond Hurst were the worst they'd ever seen. In Class 5, 15 boats started but only 8 made it. Zarifa was first into pool after 6 hours of hard racing. Blazer took second on the water and on handicap, while Alina took third. In the return race on Sunday, Blazer took the honours ahead of Mustengo and Alina. "18 boats started in Class 4 and 2/3 of them made it to pool. They were shown the way by Jibe, who finished just over a minute ahead of Shades of Blue on the water, but the roles were reversed on handicap. Longpierre finished 3rd. Longpierre took the honours on Sunday, with only just 2nd and no doubt 3rd. Class 3 had 15 starters, but 6 retired later, including Scarlet Oyster and Floating Voter. Incognito was first home and won on handicap, followed by Mostly Harmless and Alaris. In the return race, Alaris came out on top with Audacious 2nd and Mostly Harmless 3rd. By early afternoon on Saturday, the wind had shifted more to the south and was gusting over 30 knots, so the windward leeward racing for the day boats in the Red Funnel Cowes Keelboat Championship was abandoned. Instead, the PRO shifted to Plan B and ran a single race to count for the Cowes Keelboat Solent Series, which starts off a shoreline. So a hardy group of 5 darings braved the elements and were led from start to finish by Giles Peckham's Dauntless. Although it was rough, the large swell of the early morning was thankfully missing, but the day boats still had their work cut out to stay in control. Behind Dauntless at the end of a 1 3/4 hour race came Defender, with Finesse coming in 3rd. Just 2 dragons fancied the challenge, so it was left to Njord and Norbert to battle the conditions and each other. Owen and Josie Pay's Njord led from start to finish as Norbert tested the strength of its spinnaker before giving up the unequal struggle. Njord had Richard Ottaway, more normally a daring sailor, as guest helmsman, and he coped admirably with the conditions as Njord led the way down the run and set its kite. Who said dragons can't fly? Conditions had moderated on Sunday, although the southwesterly was still in the high teens. The Island Sailing Club's race officer reverted to Plan A, and red funnel racing was back on. The Darings mustered 6 boats, and they were first away on the windward leeward course, which featured a beat against the tide. Darling went for a port tack start, with Defender kindly ducking her at the pin end of the line. By the top mark it was Dynamite showing the way with a decent lead over Finesse, while Defender took the 3rd slot at the finish. In the second race of the day, Dynamite made it 2 in a row, but this time it was Double Knot taking 2nd, with Darling 3rd. The Dragons also had a double winner in their 5-boat fleet. Duncan Grindley and Norbert took both races, with Rob Gray's Rackham and Owen Pay's Njord taking 2nd and 3rd in the first race. In the second race, Njord was 2nd, and Cavalier came home in 3rd. Three Flying 15s joined the party on Sunday. Their first race was a close battle, but Gavin Tappenden in Flux came out on top, with Adam Cowley's Floozy 2nd and Andrew Milband's 50-50 in 3rd. Flux also took the gun in race 2, but this time 50-50 took 2nd, ahead of Floozy.
Well, that's it from Cowes at the end of a very wet and windy weekend. Join us next week for a report on the Little Britain Challenge Cup and the start of Southampton Boat Show. You never know, the sun might even put in an appearance. See you then.